The first time I realized I was about to die, it wasn't because a gun was pointed at my head. It was because someone called me by the wrong name. Not sir, not hey you. They called me Agent Cole. The moment those words hit the air, the man behind the tinted SUV window smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the look of a hunter who had finally found his missing weapon. I froze. My blood turned to slush in my veins. Because I wasn't Agent Cole. I was Ethan Parker, a freelance drone videographer from San Diego. I spent my days filming weddings and real estate. My biggest fear was my rent check bouncing. I had no business standing in front of a man with cartel tattoos crawling up his neck. But as he pushed open the heavy back door of the black SUV, he didn't look at me like I was a stranger. He looked at me like I was his property. Get in. Now. We're late. His voice was a gravelly whisper. It wasn't a request. It was a death sentence if I refused. I looked down the empty street. No witnesses, no help. Just me and the yawning darkness of that car. I swallowed hard and stepped inside. The interior smelled like expensive leather, stale tobacco, and something sharp, something metallic, like copper, like blood. The driver didn't even glance in the rearview mirror. He just shifted into gear and floored it. The man next to me leaned in close. I could smell the tequila on his breath. They're watching, Cole. Don't act stupid. Don't even blink wrong. My mouth was a desert. What is this? I managed to croak. The man's eyes narrowed into slits. Cute. We're doing the amnesia bit now? Listen to me. You go inside, you confirm the package, you walk out. You do not improvise. He tapped his jacket. I saw the unmistakable outline of a high-caliber handgun. My heart began to slam against my ribs so hard I thought it would crack a bone. We spiraled down into an underground parking garage. Concrete walls, flickering harsh fluorescent lights. Two men in tactical gear stood guard with assault rifles, waving us through like we were royalty. As we drove deeper, I saw it, painted in blood red on a steel vault door. A snake biting a dagger. Even a wedding photographer from San Diego knew that symbol, the Cartel. The SUV screeched to a halt. The man grabbed my shoulder, his grip like a vice. Remember, you mess up, they kill all of us, not just you. The vault door groaned open. Inside, the air was freezing. The first thing I saw was a man strapped to a wooden chair. His face was a map of purple bruises. His white shirt was translucent, soaked through with blood. And directly above him, hanging from a tripod, was a camera. A live feed. Then a woman's voice boomed through the overhead speakers, cold and synthetic. Welcome back, Agent Cole. The massive steel door slammed shut, multiple heavy locks clicking. A man stepped out of the shadows. He wore a bespoke suit, no tattoos, no scars, but his eyes were dead. He looked at people like they were objects to be moved or discarded. Mr. Cole, or should I say, Agent Cole? I didn't take the hand. My brain was screaming, play the part. I gave him a single curt nod. Good, he clapped softly. We found a rat. He claims he works for the FBR. FBR? My mind raced. Not the FBI, the FBR. I'd seen that acronym in the darkest corners of the internet. Conspiracy threads about a ghost agency that handled the jobs too dirty for the government to admit to. The boss pulled out a phone and turned the screen toward me. My stomach dropped into my shoes. It was a profile, a photo of a man with my exact jawline, my nose, my eyes. But it wasn't me. Under the photo, in bold red letters, Agent Cole Ryder, active operative. Relax, the boss smiled, seeing my shock. If you're here, it means the FBR wants to negotiate. Two men rolled in a reinforced metal suitcase and snapped the latches open. Inside was a small, matte black canister. It had no labels, but the air around it seemed to vibrate. "This is the package," whispered the boss, "and now we test if you are truly who you claim to be." He slid a handgun across the cold metal table. The sound of the steel scraping against the surface echoed like a scream. "Kill him." The prisoner began to sob. "No, please, I have a family." The boss's smile vanished. "Do it, Cole, now." My hands shook as I picked up the weapon. It was heavier than I imagined. Every instinct told me to run, but the vault was sealed. I walked toward the prisoner. He looked up at me with eyes full of terror. Then he leaned forward and whispered something only I could hear. "You're not Cole." I froze. "If you shoot me," he hissed, his eyes darting upward, "you die. Look at the vent." In the shadows of the ceiling ductwork, I saw it. A tiny blinking red light. Not a camera, a detonator. "Do it," the boss roared. I didn't think, I reacted. I whirled around and fired, not at the man, but at the main power junction on the wall. Loud electrical explosion, glass shattering, the room plunges into screaming darkness. Chaos erupted. Muzzle flashes lit up the room like a strobe light. I dove for the table, grabbed the metal suitcase, and elbowed a guard in the throat. Suddenly, a voice crackled directly into my ear. A woman's voice. Calm, professional. "Ethan Parker, if you want to live, stop running and listen." I nearly dropped the suitcase. "How do you know my name?" "Open the suitcase. Take the drive. That key contains the biometric data of every undercover agent in the Western Hemisphere. You're holding it because the real Cole Ryder is dead." My heart stopped. Dead? We needed a ghost, someone random, someone disposable, someone like you. Now you have 10 seconds before they flood that room with nerve gas. Get to the duct. Move. I scrambled. I smashed a chair against the wall, ripped the vent cover off, and hauled myself into the cramped metal tunnel just as I heard the hiss of gas filling the room. I crawled until my knees were raw and my lungs burned. I kicked open a hatch at the end of the line and fell on a cold tile floor. Before I could breathe, a tactical flashlight blinded me. I looked up. A team of black combat-geared men stood over me. No flags on their shoulders, just a symbol, a circle with 3 vertical lines. The leader lowered his rifle and looked down at me with a terrifyingly hollow smile. "Agent Cole Ryder, we've been waiting for you." The first FBR agent didn't help me up. He grabbed me by the collar and slammed me against the cold concrete wall. My vision was a blur of gray and static. The gas from the tunnels was still clawing at my throat. "I'm not Cole," I wheezed, my lungs burning. The man stared at me for a heartbeat, then let out a dry, jagged laugh. "Oh, he's a comedian. I like this one." A second agent stepped into the light. She was tall, her hair pulled back into a knot so tight it looked painful. Her eyes weren't human. They were cameras, recording, analyzing, calculating. She scanned me with a tablet. Pulse elevated, pupils dilated, adrenaline spiking, she said, her voice like glass breaking. "He doesn't know." The man frowned. "Doesn't know what?" She stepped into my personal space. I could smell the ozone and mint on her breath. "Ethan Parker, San Diego, high-end drone operator. No criminal record, clean, boring." I felt my soul shrivel. They didn't just know my name, they knew my life. "You were selected because you are a 93% biometric match for Agent Cole Ryder." She tapped the screen. She showed me a photo. It was the man from the file, my twin. Then she swiped. My stomach lurched. It was a photo of a body bag, zipped halfway down. Inside was a face. My face, gray, sightless. A single bullet hole between the eyes. "Cole Ryder was compromised," she said flatly. "He was executed 48 hours ago.
While you were editing a wedding video, your doppelganger was being dumped in a ditch. They forced me into a chair in a room that felt like a tomb. My wrists and ankles were strapped down. "I didn't rescue me," I whispered. "Rescue?" The woman tilted her head. "Ethan, you are an asset, and assets are used until they break. You are going to deliver that key to a buyer tonight." "What buyer? The cartel?" She leaned in, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "The cartel doesn't have the imagination for this. The buyer is the United States government, certain off-the-books departments. That key contains names that are worth billions in blackmail and leverage." "This is treason," I said, the word feeling heavy in my mouth. The man behind me laughed. The woman didn't. "Treason is a word used by people who still believe there are rules, Ethan. Tonight, you meet Rafael Cruz. You hand over the key. We observe." "And then?" I asked. Her smile widened. It was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. "And then we erase you permanently." She threw a duffel bag on the table, a black jacket, a holster, a handgun I didn't know how to use, and a small, flesh-colored earpiece. "If you run," she whispered, leaning so close her lips brushed my ear, "we don't just kill you, we kill your mother, your sister, everyone you've ever sent a Christmas card to. Do you understand?" I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was collapsing under the weight of a mountain. I wasn't just a man anymore. I was a ghost in waiting. 2 hours later, I was back in a black SUV heading towards a crumbling warehouse on the Mexican border. The woman's voice crackled in my ear. "Ethan, stay calm. Rafael Cruz is paranoid. He will test you. He'll ask something only the real Cole would know." "How do I answer?" I hissed, my hand shaking on the steering wheel. "Improvise." I stepped into the warehouse. The air smelled of rust and old oil. A single hanging bulb swayed in the center of the room. Rafael Cruz stood there, a bearded giant with eyes like serrated knives. He circled me like a shark. "Agent Cole," he purred, "I heard you took the key." I nodded, forcing my voice to stay deep. "I have it." "Show me." I pulled the biometric key from my pocket. Cruz stared at it, his eyes gleaming with greed. He reached out, but then stopped. He snapped his fingers. One of his men stepped forward with a small velvet box. Cruz flipped it open. Inside was a severed human finger, fresh, bloody. My stomach did a somersault. This belonged to the man I killed 2 days ago, the man who claimed to be Cole. I like certainty, Agent Cole. If you are the real Cole, you will recognize your own partner's signature. He pointed at the finger. Which hand did this come from, left or right? The woman's voice screamed in my ear. "Answer him, now!" I looked at the finger. I looked at Cruz. My heart was a drum. "Left," I gambled. It was his left hand. Cruz's smile died. He looked at his men. Incorrect. It was his right. He grabbed my arm and slammed it on the table. "Cut off his right hand," he commanded. "Let's see if he recognizes that." "No, wait!" I screamed. The blade was inches from my skin when the warehouse door exploded. Deafening explosion, high-intensity gunfire, screaming. Flashbangs turned the world white. I rolled off the table as bullets tore through the air. Chaos reigned. I grabbed my gun, fired blindly into the smoke, and sprinted for the back exit. "Ethan, stand down!" the woman's voice screamed in my ear. But through the smoke, I saw them. FBR tactical teams were storming the building, but they weren't aiming at the cartel. Their lasers were centered on my chest. They weren't here to save me. They were here to clean up the mess. A dead Agent Cole and a dead cartel leader in a warehouse. A perfect, silent ending. I burst through the back door into the freezing desert night. "Ethan, stand down!" the woman screamed. I ripped the earpiece out of my ear and crushed it under my boot. "Extract this," I whispered. I turned and ran into the black void of the desert. I had no map, I had no friends, and the two most powerful organizations on Earth wanted me in a body bag. But I still had the key, and as long as I had the key, I was the most dangerous man alive.
I ran until my lungs felt like they were being shredded by glass. Behind me, the warehouse was a glowing orange wound in the desert night, punctuated by the staccato rhythm of gunfire. I dove into a dried-up riverbed, pressing my face into the grit. I held my breath, clutching the handgun. I didn't even know if it was loaded. A flashlight beam swept over the ridge above me. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I waited for the footsteps to fade, but they didn't. They stopped. Ethan Parker. The voice was young, male, and terrifyingly familiar. I spun around, aiming the gun into the shadows. A man stood there, hands raised, palms open. He wasn't wearing tactical gear. He looked exhausted. He looked like he'd been through hell. He looked exactly like me. No, not like me. He looks like the photo in the file. He was the man I was supposed to be. "I'm Cole Ryder," he whispered. My heart stopped. I said, "You're dead. I saw the body bag. I saw the photo." The man stepped into the faint moonlight. His beard was scruffy, his eyes hollow. They staged it. They needed a reason to bring in a replacement. They needed a reason to bring in you. "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling. Cole laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think that key is a list of agents? That's the lie they feed the recruits. That key is a black ledger. It's a record of every bribe, every assassination, and every drug route the FBR and the cartel have managed together for the last 10 years. My skin crawled. Together? The FBR doesn't fight the cartel. They manage them. They're two heads of the same snake, and I was their favorite soldier, until I decided I wanted out." He pointed at my face. "They didn't pick you randomly. You're perfect. No criminal record, no military ties, no one to come looking for you. You were the perfect scapegoat. They wanted to frame a rogue agent for the theft of the ledger and then erase him. That's you. So my life, it was all a lie." Cole nodded grimly. "The car accident you had 6 months ago, the guy who ran, FBI. The random mugging outside your apartment, FBI. They were stress testing you. They were building a psychological profile to make sure you'd play the part when the time came." I felt sick. My entire reality was a scripted play, and I was the only one who didn't know the lines. We scrambled up the rocky terrain into a hidden cave. The air was damp and smelled of ancient dust. Cole pulled out a burner phone. "We wait until dawn. Then we reach my contact, Mara Velasquez. She's an investigative journalist. Her brother was murdered by the FBR. She's the only one who can blow this wide open." I looked at the key in my hand. It felt heavier now, like I was holding a live grenade. Suddenly, Cole's phone vibrated. He stared at the screen, his face turning ghostly pale. "What is it?" I asked. "Unknown caller," he whispered. "There shouldn't be a signal here." He hit speaker. The voice that came through was the woman in the earpiece. Calm, cold, godlike. "Cole Ryder, you're alive. And Ethan, you're right next to him. You have 5 minutes before we seal that cave and burn the oxygen out." I grabbed the phone. "Who are you, Ethan? Why are you doing this?" The woman chuckled. "I'm the person who recruited you, Ethan. And I'm the person who killed Cole Ryder." I looked at the man sitting across from me. He looked as confused as I was. Or at least, I killed the one you think is Cole Ryder. My blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about?" "There are 3 Cole Ryders, Ethan," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "One is in a body bag in a Morgan. One is sitting in that cave with you."
She paused, and I could hear her smiling through the phone. And the third, the real one, is already inside the cave with you, and he's coming to collect his key. Click. The line dead. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at the man who claimed to be Cole. He was staring at the back of the cave, his eyes wide with pure, unadulterated terror. Because the footsteps weren't coming from the entrance. They were coming from the darkness behind us. A shadow detached itself from the stone wall. A third man, same jawline, same eyes, but these eyes were cold, professional, dead. "Give me the key, Ethan," the shadow said. Fade to black.
The darkness was absolute until a single phone light flickered on. It illuminated a man sitting casually on a jagged rock. He wore tactical black, clean and lethal. On his knee rested a suppressed pistol. When the light hit his face, my stomach didn't just drop, it vanished. He had my face, not a resemblance, an exact, pore-for-pore match. He smiled, and it was a smile I had practiced in my own bathroom mirror for years. "Hello, Ethan," he said. The man beside me, the man I thought was Cole, whispered in terror. "No." "You can call me Cole 3, the man on the rock said, standing up. His movements were fluid, like a predator. He looked at me with pity. "You're the civilian copy, the innocent one." He turned his gaze to the man beside me. "And you're the rogue copy, the one who grew a conscience." Then he tapped his own chest. "And I'm the original, the one who stayed loyal." The first Cole explained. "Voice, mannerisms, DNA. We are a ghost army, Ethan. You were the easiest, just no training, just a mask for us to wear." "Why the key?" I asked, clutching it in my pocket. Cole said it was a ledger. Cole 3 laughed. "The ledger is the story we tell the losers. That key is a trigger. It's an off-grid kill switch for a satellite-based drone system. One click, and you can erase a city block from orbit. No trail, no accountability." My blood ran cold. The cartel wants it because they aren't just selling drugs anymore. They're building a shadow state, and whoever holds that key holds the throne. He stepped toward me, his hand outstretched. "Hand it over, Ethan." The rogue Cole stepped in front of me. "No." Cole 3 didn't argue. He didn't blink. He just raised his pistol and shot Rogue Cole in the shoulder. "Ethan, run!" Rogue Cole gasped, collapsing into the dirt. I raised my gun and fired. The bullets sparked against the rock. Cole 3 rolled behind a boulder, laughing. "See? That's why you were chosen. You're emotional. A real agent would have used him as a human shield." Rogue Cole grabbed my jacket, his hand slick with blood. "Listen, the key. It has a failsafe. If you enter the wrong biometric pattern 3 times, it melts the drive. Destroy it, Ethan. Don't let them have it." Cole 3 was closing in. "Come on, Ethan. You're a wedding photographer. You don't want to die in a hole in the desert." I looked at the key. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold it. I looked at the original Cole, the man I would become if I stayed. I slammed the key against the stone wall, again and again. The tiny LED on the drive turned a violent, bleeding red. It began to hiss, the plastic bubbling and melting into a puddle of toxic slag on the cave floor. "You idiot!" Cole 3 roared. He lunged at me, pinning me against the wall, the barrel of his gun burning against my forehead. "You just destroyed the most valuable weapon on Earth." I looked him in the eye, my own eye, and whispered, "Good." A sudden, blinding light hit us. A dozen tactical lights entered the cave. The handler, the woman from the earpiece,
walked into the cave. She looked at the melted key, then at Cole 3. You were compromised, 3. The cartel offered you a side deal. You thought we wouldn't find out? No, wait, Cole 3 pleaded. Originals are replaceable, she said. A single suppressed gunshot, the heavy thud of a body falling. She turned to me. Her eyes were empty, like two holes in the world. She looked at the bleeding rogue Cole, then back at me. You destroyed the key. That was the correct decision. It proves you can make the hard choice. You're more useful than he is. I'm done, I said, backing away. Let me go. You don't understand, Ethan. She signaled her men. They grabbed me. I felt a sharp sting in my neck, a sedative. Your life ended the moment you stepped into that SUV. Now, we just have to make it official. I woke up in a white room. No windows, just a mirror wall and a file on the table. On the cover, it read, Cole Ryder, Identity Package. The woman's voice came through a speaker. The story is simple, Ethan. Agent Cole Ryder stopped a cartel plot to steal a weapon. The weapon was destroyed. The hero went deep undercover. You are that hero now. I won't do it, I whispered. Your family is currently being watched by security teams. If you want them to keep breathing, you will open that file. You will learn your new name. You will learn your new life. I stared at the file. My mind broke. I looked into the mirror wall, but I didn't see Ethan Parker anymore. I saw a weapon. Good, she whispered. Now, let's send you back to the cartel. You have a job to finish.